Praise Yah, brothers and sisters. Praise the Most High, our Sovereign One, the King of Kings, the Great One, trustworthy One, the kind One, the compassionate One, the one who is slow to anger. Baruch are all those who revere Yahuah and walk in his ways. You know, when we revere him, we will not be guilty of presumptuous ways. And that's what we want to talk about today, is being presumptuous. We know that when we reject or disobey Yahuah, we draw his judgment after a while. He's not as quick to judgment as he was during the time of the Torah and the Tanakh. Those days, he's not as quick now as he was. He does wink at our ignorances. You know, when we really don't know something, he will be a little bit slower. He's just so compassionate. Tehillim 103 tells us about how he is slow to anger. But we ought not to take that as a weakness. You know, even in our lives, there's some people who take our kindness as weaknesses, unless we put boundaries up and say, no. And that's what we often do with him, because he is slow to anger. So today we're going to talk about being presumptuous. So one day, a few weeks ago, I don't remember exactly how this came to me, but I probably was reading because, as you know, I've been staying in the Torah a lot and just trying to learn more about the law. And so I was reading in Wayyiqra about the incident with Aharon's two sons that were killed because of the strange fire. And so it came to me that was presumptuous. And then from there, you know, it went on. So this has been ready to go for weeks. And this morning is the day that I'm supposed to bring it forth. And a lot of things has happened in my life, even after, you know, y'all gave this to me. I started trying to live by it more and more, which it doesn't make sense. I don't want, like Paul even said, he didn't want to be after teaching so many people. He didn't want to be a castaway. He didn't want to be one that be thrown off or driven from Yah because he's teaching one thing and then doing another. So having met with Yah and him giving me the scriptures and talking to him about this, I've been trying, of course, to live by it. So some things have happened this past week that, you know, he told me that, you know, I was like, yeah, okay, I got to do this. And when I do this, when these audios are completed, then I listen to them, and sometimes over and over again, so they can get in my spirit, because as I'm delivering it for the audio, I don't always hear everything that he speaks through me or that he reminds me as I'm talking. So I listen back to it, and it just becomes more and more engraved. And, you know, even when we're in school, the more we study something, right, the more it becomes a knowledge. It becomes ours. And so I'll listen. So I'm looking forward to listening to this over and over again, because many of us, I have been presumptuous, and we got to stop it. So let me share some of these scriptures with you. So first I'm going to start with the definition of being presumptuous. Presumptuous, readiness to presume in conduct or thought, as by saying or doing something without right or permission, unwarrantedly or impertinently bold or forward. Here are some synonyms. And so listening to that does line up with what Abihu and Nadab. They did something without the right or permission. So synonyms to presumptuous is bold, brazen, overconfident, pretentious, arrogant, egotistical, bold, overbold. And they had put bold in there twice. Audacious, pushy, forward, overfamiliar, disrespectful, inconsiderate, impertinent, fresh, free, insolent, impudent, cheeky, rude, impolite, uncivil, hasty, over hasty, assuming, and rash. And this was from thesaurus.com. Okay, so I want to share with you some acts of being presumptuous in the scriptures. Adam and Eve, and the consequences for their presumptuousness of partaking of that fruit, is they lost all they had. Yet, Yahuah did not abandon them, but it was a steep consequence. But they had been warned. Whether they knew exactly what that meant, that they would surely die, I'm not sure about that. But they didn't follow through with what they were told. Nadab and Abihu, the sons of Aharon, they got instant death. Eli and his bens, all three died the same day. And Yahuah had said that there would not be an old man in the family. The taking of the ark to battle. So they lost 30,000 more men over the 4,000 they had already lost by taking the ark to battle. And through that, Yah honored the enemy. We're going to read those actual verses in a little bit. Shamual's bens, it's amazing. They were acting almost like Eli's bens, which is so amazing to me, because Shamuel was used to tell Shaul what was going to happen to his household because of the way his children went. And so and at that time, Shamuel was just, a young lad, but when he grew up, something happened in his parenting that his sons were almost as bad. So that caused the children of Yashrael to say they wanted a king, because Shamuel's sons, Bens, who were judges and leaders at that time, they weren't doing right. Gehazi, being presumptuous, his consequence was leprosy for him and his descendants. Daud and Bathsheba and Uriah, their first son died, and trauma remained in Daud's house. Musa in the water at Maribah caused him to not be allowed to go into the promised land. Miriam and Aharon, for murmuring against Musa, Miriam got leprosy for 7 days, and she did not go into the promised land. The manna, they were told what to do. Go out every early part of the day and get their manna, just enough for that day. Yet some of them took more than they were supposed to. And when they woke up for the next day, there it was, spoiled. They said maggots, and it was stank, and it was awful. He told them what to do. He said, 6 days, you get just what you need for today. And on the 6th day, you're going to gather twice, because Yah preserved it. So on the 7th day, because they weren't supposed to be working, but they were hard-headed. They had to learn the hard way. And then the prophet, and if you listen to many of my audios, I have brought this up, and usually this brings me to tears. It really touches me how he was betrayed and deceived by an older prophet. But why? Because this prophet did not give heed to what Yahuah had told him. He was presumptuous in receiving the word of a man over what Yah had already told him. So he was killed. Yahuah told him that if he didn't follow what he told him, that he would not be buried in the sepulchre of his fathers. And sure enough, that's what happened. And then we have Annaias and Saphira. They died, and they didn't get to enjoy the money that they lied about to the Ruach HaKodesh. They didn't even get to enjoy the money. They both died, killed instantly. Then we have the 10 virgins. 5 were not allowed in. The foolish ones were not allowed in. And the bridegroom said, "Depart from me. I don't know you." Well, he didn't say depart from me. He just said, I don't know you. And he didn't let them in. So, could it be that being presumptuous is a lack of reverence to the Most High Yah? Something to think about, right? Something to think about. Being presumptuous. What in your life, if any, because I know in my life there's some, could it be areas that you're being presumptuous and that could bring judgment? And it might not be any judgment that you really think about and see here on this earth, but wouldn't it be awful if the judgment is that he says, "I never knew you"? So let's begin with Barashyt 2. Then Yahuah commanded the man, saying, verse 16, "From all the trees of the garden you are most welcome to eat, but of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil you must not eat. For when you eat from it, you most assuredly will die." Chapter 3. But the serpent was shrewder than any animal of the field that Yahuah made. So it said to the woman, "Did Allah really say you must not eat from all the trees of the garden?" The woman said to the serpent, of the fruit of the trees we may eat, but of the fruit of the tree that is in the middle of the garden, Allah said, "You must not eat of it, and you must not touch it, or you will die of it." The serpent said to the woman, "You most assuredly won't die, for Allah knows that when you eat of the tree, that your eyes will be opened, and you will be like Allah, knowing good and evil." Now the woman saw that the tree was good for food, and that it was pleasant for the eyes, and that the tree was desirable for imparting wisdom. So she took of its fruit, and she ate. She also gave to her husband who was with her, and he ate. Was Adam and Eve, both of them, or just Adam, presumptuous in the decision to not give heed to Yahuah's instructions and warning? Most people say that he was presumptuous. He evidently thought he could get away with it, or y'all didn't mean it. So they usually say Adam. And then some people say both. But either way, the decision was made to usurp authority over the one of authority. They were overconfident, maybe. Arrogant, egotistical. Definitely was a brazen act. And it was rash on Adam's part to not think it through. Wayyiqra 10. And Nadab and Abihu, the sons, the bens of Aharon, took either of them his censer, and put fire therein, and put incense thereon, and offered strange fire before Yahuah, that he commanded them not. And there went out fire from Yahuah and devoured them, and they died before Yahuah. Then Musa said unto Aharon, "This is it that Yahuah spake, saying, I will be sanctified in them that come near me, and before all the people I will be esteemed." And Aharon held his peace. And Musa called Mishael and Elizaphan, the sons of Uzziel, the uncle of Aharon, and said unto them, Come near, carry your brethren from before the sanctuary out of the camp. So they went near and carried them in their coats out of the camp, as Musa had said. And Musa said unto Aharon and to Eleazar and to Ithamar, his sons, Uncover not your heads, neither rend your clothes, lest you die, and cause wrath to come upon all the people. But let your brethren, the whole house of Yashrael, bewail the burning that Yahuah has kindled. And you shall not go out from the door of the tabernacle of the congregation, lest you die. For the anointing oil of Yahuah is upon you. And they did according to the word of Musa. You know, as I was starting this study, I was like, okay, I'm going to go online. I don't really go by commentaries because I have the wise one that teaches, but every once in a while, you know, you'll find something. So anyway, so this one commentary that I read, they suggest that the Abihu and Nadab had watched their father offer fire, and that they thought that it was rather simple, and assumed that they could do the same thing as their father. After all, we're all of the Kohanim, right? So Nadab and Abihu offered incense before Yahuah, but they used profane, strange, unauthorized fire, and Yahuah condemned it. Now, I think that I agree with him, that I'm thinking that, yeah, they were presumptuous and thinking they could do it too because they had seen their father do it. And I don't know what their thinking was, but they could have gotten big-headed that, you know, we're part of the Kohanim and we can do it too. Either way, it was not pleasing to him. So when we're presumptuous, and especially in certain matters, will y'all consider it as strange fire and bring his fire down upon us? So we must be mindful to only do the things that Yahuah has authorized us to do, especially in the things of worship and honoring him. But we know that true worship is our service to him. It's the life that we live before him. It's not, you know, what religion teaches, that worship's only done in that building. Worship is our life that we live before him. Remember I quoted before we got started in Tehillim 128 to reverence him. So, is being presumptuous the same as the bins of Aharon, their actions they did? Just doing what we want to do before Yahuah. Think about it. We're living our lives and we're busy and bustling around and doing this and doing that. We don't even realize, don't realize and think all the time that I am actually walking before him. He is watching everything I do, everything I say. And I'm presumptuous even in that. In 1 Samuel chapter 4, verse 1, so Yahuah had already given a message to Eli and told him because of the sins of his bins. In fact, the scriptures say that they were sons of Belial. So they were some evil men sitting in the office of Kohanim, and they were just evil, wicked. So now we're in 1 Samuel 4 and verse 1. So it was that the word of Shamuel went forth to all the children of Yahuah. Now Yashrael went out against the Philistines in battle. The Philistines drew up in battle array to meet Yashrael, and when the battle was fought, Yashrael was defeated before the Philistines, who killed 4,000 men on the battlefield. When the people came back to the camp, the elders of Yashrael asked, "Why did Yahuah bring defeat on us today? before the Philistines, let's fetch the ark of the covenant of Yahuah from Shiloh, that he may come among us and deliver us from the hand of our enemies. So the people sent to Shiloh. From there they carried the ark of the covenant of Yahuah to Shpal, who sits above the cherubim. Eli's two sons, Hophni and Phinehas, who were there with the ark of the covenant of Yahuah. Now when the ark of the covenant of Yahuah entered the camp, all Yashrael shouted with a great shout, so that the ground resounded. When the Philistines heard the noise of the shout, they wondered, what's this noise of a great shout in the camp of the Hebrews? When they realized that the ark of Yahuah had come to the camp, the Philistines were afraid, for they said, Yahuah has come into the camp. Wow, isn't that wonderful? Yahuah has come into the camp. So they said, isn't that something how the enemy knew about Yahuah? So Yahuah has come into the camp. So they said, woe to us, for nothing like this has ever happened before. Woe to us, who will deliver us from the hand of this mighty Yahuah? This is the Yahuah that struck down the Egyptians with all kinds of plagues in the wilderness. Be strong and conduct yourselves like men, O Philistines, or else you will become enslaved to the Hebrews as they have been to you. Be like men and fight. So the Philistines did fight, and Yashrael was defeated. They fled every man to his tent. The slaughter was very great, as 30,000 of Yashrael's foot soldiers fell. Moreover, the ark of Yahuah was captured, and Eli's two sons, Hophni and Phinehas, died. Or Phinehas. And then when Eli heard of his sons dying in the battle and that the ark of the covenant had been captured, he fell off his chair and he died. And then Phinehas' wife was expecting a child. She went to labor and gave birth to a son, and she died when she heard of the ark of the covenant being captured. Judgment. They were very presumptuous to think they could just take that ark, because they knew that they took the ark, that the Ruach of Yahuah would be with them, but only if he gave license to do that. He gave them permission to do it. That was very presumptuous of them. So they lost 34,000 people, and Yah honored the reverence of the enemy. They knew what that meant to them. And they pronounced, oh my goodness, he's here. And Yah honored it. He honored it. Tehillim 19 verse 12. Who could understand his errors? Cleanse me from secret faults, Father. Keep back your servant also from presumptuous transgressions, and let them not have dominion over me. Then shall I be upright, and I shall be innocent from the great transgression. Let the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be acceptable in your sight, O Yahuah, my strength and my Redeemer. Even the words of our mouth can be presumptuous. Daud said, keep back your servant also from presumptuous sins, and don't let them have dominion over me. Numbers 15, verse 27. And if any soul transgresses through ignorance, then he shall bring a she-goat of the first year for a transgression offering. And the priest shall make an atonement for the soul that transgresses ignorantly, when he transgresses by ignorance before Yahuah, to make an atonement for him, and it shall be blotted out for him. You shall have one law for him that transgresses through ignorance, both for him and that is born among the children of Yashrael, and for the stranger that sojourns among them. But the soul that does aught presumptuously, whether he be born in the land or a stranger, the same reproaches Yahuah, and that soul shall be cut off from among his people for being presumptuous. Because he hath despised the word of Yahuah and hath broken his commandment, that soul shall be utterly cut off. His iniquity shall be upon him. So for despising the word of Yahuah is considered being presumptuous. Hebrews 10, verse 26. For if we willfully transgress after that we have received the knowledge of truth, there remains no more sacrifice for transgressions, but a certain fearful looking for judgment and fiery indignation that shall devour the adversaries. It is a fearful thing to fall into the hands of the living Yahuah. Now the just shall live by belief and trust in Yahuah. But if any man draw back, my being shall have no pleasure in him. Praise Yah, but we are not among them who draw back unto eternal damnation and destruction, but of them that believe to the saving of our being. We are subject to being as presumptuous in our actions as these people that I've listed earlier. If we do not give heed to Yah's instructions and learn the lessons of their mistakes, they are written for our admonition. 1 John 2:15. Love not the world, neither the things that are in the world. If any man love the world, the love of the Father is not in him. For all that is in the world, the lust of the flesh, the lust of the eyes, and the pride of life is not of the Father, but it is of the world. Yaakov 4, verse 17. To him then who knows to do good and does not do it, to him it is a transgression. So let's think about things. So think about this. Have you ever heard of someone who might have gotten too much change back from a cashier, and they realize when they count the money back and they say, oh, this is a blessing here, and they don't say anything? How presumptuous. In fact, that's more than presumptuous. But yeah. Or how about doing good on the Shabbat? And people who base that on the scriptures that say that talks about the ox being in the ditch and going in there and getting the ox out. So they base it on that. They base it on the scripture that talks about doing good on the Shabbat. I remember in the 80s when I first came to the knowledge of keeping the Sabbath. I wasn't keeping it correctly, but I was keeping it. The group of people that I fellowship with in religion, they used to use that a lot. And looking back, I see that people were using it according to their own private interpretation of what it meant to do good. So that could cover a multitude of things, right? And so looking back now, I'm like, ooh, that was very, very, very presumptuous. And we know that no scripture is of private interpretation. Let's read 2 Samuel 24. 2 Samuel 24. And beginning with verse 2. So David was at war. The children of Yashua, they were at war, and David decides that he's gonna number the people, see how many people they had with them to fight, right? And so what happened was it was a bad decision to do that. And so we're going to read what happened from him doing that. This is the strangest thing here. I'm right here at 2 Samuel, and I'm flipping through these pages, and it's like chapter 24 is being hidden from me. But guess what? I have arrived. So Daud the king said to Joab, the captain of the host that was with him, go through all the tribes of Yashrael, from Dan even to Beersheba, and number the people, that I may know the number of the people. And Joab said to the king, now Yahuah Yahuah add unto the people how many whatsoever they be, 100-fold, and that the eyes of Yahuah the king may see. But why do you delight in doing this thing? In other words, who matter? What does it matter how many people we have? If we need more, Yahuwah will give us more. If we don't have that many, we don't. Remember Gideon? Their victory with only 300 men. So Joab was trying to make sense of it to the king. But notwithstanding, the king's word prevailed against Joab and against the captains of the host. And Joab and the captains of the host went out from the presence of the king to number the people. And Joab gave up the sum of the number of the people unto the king, that there were in Yashrael 800,000 valiant men that drew the sword, and the men of Judah were 500,000. So then David's heart smote him after that he had numbered the people, and Daud said unto Yahuwah, I have transgressed greatly in that I have done this, and now I beseech you, Yahuwah, take away the iniquity of your servant, for I have done very foolishly. And when David was up in the new day, the word of Yahuwah came to the prophet Gad, David's seer, saying, Go and say unto Daud, Thus says Yahuwah, I offer you 3 things. Choose thee one of them, that I may do it unto you. And so one of them was that they would have 7 years of famine. And another one was that he would be pursued for 3 months from his enemies. And then the other one was that he would choose 3 days of pestilence in the land. He said, Now advise and see what answer I shall return to Yahuwah that sent me. And Yahuwah said unto the prophet, the Nabi, I am in a great strait. Let us fall now into the hand of Yahuwah, for his compassions are great, and let me not fall into the hand of man. So Yahuwah, he chose to bring pestilence into Yashrael. And then David did sacrifices, and the plague was stopped. But once again, being presumptuous is not gonna turn out good for us. And he knew immediately after he numbered the people that he had done wrong. I remember once, this is years ago, I don't want to say short on money, but whatever. I was going to do something. And so I said, I'm going to count to see how much money I have. And Yahuwah brought this account back to me and said, don't count your money. And I thought, okay, Father. And so whenever, even now, even though that was years ago, when I get ready to start counting my money, I said, I don't have to count my money, because whatever I need is already provided for me. Y'all can make money work for me. I can go in the store and I get everything I need without having to know how much money. Because what is the power in knowing how much money I have in my possession? In the book of Tehillim, there's one verse where it says that power is not in horses, and just, we can't be putting our belief in these kind of things. What are numbers when we have Yahuwah on our side? Remember, there's more that be with us than be with them. In Matthew 25, remember, it tells the story about the 10 virgins. Well, 5 of them were presumptuous because they didn't take any extra oil. They didn't take any oil with them. So they were being presumptuous. And what was the judgment for them? When they went to go buy the oil so they could go, be able to see, he had already shut the door by the time they got back. And so they weren't allowed to come in. So when I think about that account, and I think about the scriptures in Matthew 7, they end almost the same. So it makes me wonder, could they have been the same people? Definitely the same mind of thinking. So if we were to read that at the end of the MattiYahu 25, afterward came also the other virgins, saying, Master, Master, open to us. But he answered and said, Verily I say unto you, I know you not. In MattiYahu 7, verse 21, not everyone that says to me, Master, Master, shall enter into the kingdom of the Shamayim, but he that does the will of my Father, who is in the Shamayim. So if we're doing the will of the Father, we're not being presumptuous. So the virgins, the five foolish, were told, when they said, Master, Master, open to us, he said, Verily I say unto you, I know you not. In MattiYahu 7:21, he says, "Not everyone that says to me, Master, Master, shall enter into the kingdom of the Shamayim, but he that does the will of my Father who is in the Shamayim. Many will say to me in the day, Master, Master, have we not prophesied in your name, and in your name have cast out devils, and in your name done many wonderful works? And then will I profess unto them, I never knew you. Depart from me, you that work iniquity." Being presumptuous is working iniquity. We have got to tighten up our act. Somehow the 5 foolish were included in that group of 10. So they had some acts, they had something going on with them that made them likely candidates. They met some standard. Whatever it was, they met it. Yet in the end, they did not meet the criteria of acceptance. Was this many are called but few chosen? Come on, people. We want to be in the remnant. Brothers and sisters, may y'all help us. You know, in my life, I know when I've been presumptuous about different things, and he'll talk to me and show me different things. When we're getting close to slipping, he'll send us that warning. We'll know it. He's stern. He's a loving father. He chastens those who he loves. And when that last warning is given and we ignore, he's going to just have to throw his hands up and say, I have been working with you, and now you continue to be brash, overconfident, don't want to listen. The enemy's at the door. The enemy's at the door. So Proverbs 29, verse 1 says, "He that being often reproved harden his neck shall suddenly be destroyed, and that without remedy." And then Proverbs 15:32, "He that refuses instruction despises his own being, but he that hears reproof gets understanding, gets knowledge, gets insight, gets revelation." Being presumptuous continuously will bring judgment, and it can bring it to being judged by a harsh man. It can bring us before men and have them to, that's why David said in his story with counting, he says, let me just come under that of Yah. Let me just fall into the hands of Yahuah. In Tehillim 71, he says, "Deliver me, Yahuah, out of the hand of the wicked, out of the hand of the unrighteous and cruel man. For you are my hope, Yahuah, Eluah. You are my trust from my youth." There is a verse in Tehillim where he says, along the same thing that Daud said. We don't want to fall in the hands of man. They're cruel, they're harsh. So we're going to now read in Mark 9, verse 43 through 50. "And if your hand offend you, cut it off. It is better for you to enter into life maimed than having 2 hands and go into hell, into the fire that never shall be quenched, where the worm dies not and the fire is not quenched." So you hear that? "And if your hand makes you stumble, cut it off. It is better for you to enter into life crippled than having 2 hands to go into the Gehenna, into the unquenchable fire, where their worm does not die and the fire is not quenched. And if your foot makes you stumble, cut it off. It is better for you to enter into life crippled than having 2 feet to be thrown into the Gehenna, unto the unquenchable fire, where their worm does not die and the fire is not quenched. And if your eye makes you stumble, pluck it out. It is better for you to enter into the reign of Eluah with one eye than having two eyes, to be thrown into the fire of Gehinnom, where the worm does not die and the fire is not quenched. For everyone shall be seasoned with fire, and every offering shall be seasoned with salt. Salt is good, but if the salt becomes tasteless, how shall you season it? Have salt in yourself, and be at peace among one another. Brothers and sisters, we have to work at not being presumptuous. We have to work at not being presumptuous. I will put in the description below the scriptures that I referenced, and you may do more, so that you can do more studying if you feel led by Yah. And until then, we would just continue to walk uprightly before Him and reverence Him. Baruch are those who revere Yahuah and walk in His ways. Remember in MattiYahu 7, he says, only those who do the will. Not everyone that says to me, Master, Master, shall enter into the kingdom of the Shamayim, but he that does the will of the Father, my Father, who is in the Shamayim. Many will say to me in the day, Master, Master, have we not prophesied in your name, and in your name have cast out devils, and in your name done many wonderful works? Then I shall profess unto them, I never knew you. Depart from me, you that work iniquity. So we can be going about doing all these kind of works, which religion teaches us to do, including soul winning and well, y'all know, y'all remember, right? But if we're not doing the will of the Father, which is what? Keep His commandments, be Torah observers, live by the Torah, love Him with all our heart, mind, being, strength, everything. In other words, have nothing, no one before Him, right? That's what it says. Put no one else above Him. Yeah. And remember that He is one. He's not three. But He told us, so the will of the Father is to live by His commandments, live by His Torah. So that's it, brothers and sisters. We listen. Oh, I have to think about this and say, oh my. Hundreds and hundreds of thousands were delivered from Mizraim. Neither their leaders and those who came out made it to the promised land. Well, I should say the elders. Only their children, and some of them were grandchildren and great-grands, were the ones that went in, because they were 40 years in the wilderness. Only 2 of the originals. Doesn't that tell us something in all that we're doing? Many are called, few are chosen. There's a remnant. Not all of us are going to get in. So what's going to be the determining factor? Look at the 10 virgins. 5 were wise, 5 were foolish. He's going to be judging between the sheep and the sheep. So, brothers and sisters, I just hope that this will help us to walk more softly, more circumspectly. What are we doing that we think is okay? And boy, oh boy, am I talking to me. You know, we got to get sick and tired of ourselves, sick and tired of going before Him and asking Him to blot this out again. Strengthen me again. We got to get there. If our eye offends, pluck it out. If our foot, cut it off. Arm offend, cut it off. Better to go into life, eternal life, not having these things. Oh my, the tongue. Anyways, that this is between you and Father. And May it shake us to our core to know that judgment, like Saphira and Annaias, I didn't get into that story. So the believers after the death and resurrection of Yahuah's Ben, Yahushua HaMashiach, the followers will get together, and they had all things common. No one had more than the other. So people who had property were selling their property and bringing it, to the leaders. And so Ananias and Saphira, his wife, they had property and they sold it, and then they had counsel between themselves. Okay, we're gonna say we only made this much. We're gonna keep back some money. So when the husband went to the council and told them this is what they did, the Ruach HaKodesh told Peter, no, they're lying. He's lying. And so Peter confronted him and told him. And right then and there, Ananias died, and they came and got him. Well, a few hours later, the wife comes, and Peter says, hey, your husband was here, and he said you sold the property for this amount. Is that true? She said, oh, yes, we did. We sold it for such and such. Oh, really? Well, the same men who carried your husband out, the footsteps are at the door. And she died. And they took him, because he told the husband before he passed away, he said, when it was yours to buy, wasn't it yours? You could have sold it and told us and given us whatever you wanted to. But to be presumptuous, these are my words now, to be presumptuous and thinking that you could just tell us anything and hold back the money, that was presumptuous. That was transgression. So, boy, this walk is a clean, sharp, specific, and distinct walk. When we're walking uprightly before Yah, oh my, it was their money. They could have said, this is what we want to give. They didn't have to even tell them how much they made from the sale. They could have just said, me and my wife want to give this to the congregation, to our assembly. That's all they had to do. But to try to be pompous and just build themselves up to, this is what we did. And the Ruach HaKodesh told Peter, they're lying, he's lying, and then gave the wife an opportunity to come straight. She didn't know her husband. She was not aware that her husband was struck dead. We need to be going through the closet, looking what am I doing I don't need. Oh my. So that's what the time of tribulation, I think, is going to do to that furnace of affliction, because he says that he chooses out of furnace of affliction. I believe we're gonna find out what we're really made of. Let's start fine-tuning things, brothers and sisters. We win in Yah, but we win in Yah when we are on his side, when we're doing the things that we need to be doing, we're lining up with his will. We can't say he knows our heart. I've said this so many times, because that's a scary thing to say he knows my heart, because yes, he does. Our heart is deceitful above all things and is desperately wicked. Read in Yahu 17. He'll tell you, our heart is deceitful above all things and is desperately wicked. Who can know it? We don't even know our own hearts. So to say he knows our heart, well, yes, he does. It would shock us to know what's really in our hearts. And if you've ever done some of the things I've done before I came to the truth, of truth, I'm ashamed to even think about it. I heard this man say once, and I actually was able to find out it's true, that transgression will take you to depths that you never thought that you would go to. You look at yourself and ashamed. Remember, we're not among those that draw back to perdition. We want to walk uprightly before him. We want our life to be a worship, to be a service. Our service to him, our life should be a worship. We should be walking softly. Think about everything we do. How does this matter to him, concern him? Are we pleasing to him? Because like the 5 that were foolish, they had been selected to be a part of that 10. But there was a dividing point, and they didn't make it. So what was really in their heart showed when they were presumptuous and not bringing enough oil, bringing any oil. One scripture said they did not bring oil. Okay, brothers and sisters. Okay. It's been a long message, so I'm going to get off. We win in Yahuah. We win in our tests and our trials when we're striving to get right. We win in Him. He will help us. He will help us make it. But we got to be sincerely wanting to be free, and it's tough because some things we have on us from generational transgressions and just so many different things, trauma in our lives. But we got to be free. And there is an audio on that about He will heal our lands, and there's a part 2 coming to that. He will heal our land, so we can be free of these. And evil spirits are rampant these days. That's another message that I hope to bring one day. Evil spirits have been truly released to umpteenth degree. Are they moving this because they know they have but a short time, and they're on us and people we deal with. Anyway, whole nother story. Be encouraged, brothers and sisters, and stay encouraged. And we win in Yah. And let's encourage one another, and let's strengthen one another. I love you in Yah, and I really hope we all make it. Until next time, stay encouraged. Go before Him. Seek His face. We got to tighten up our stuff. We got to be different from those that are in religion. Think about it. There's some of us doing everything that we know of. Reading the Torah, remembering His commandments and doing them, doing all these different things. But yet, some of us are going to be told, I never knew you. And not everyone that calls me master. It don't matter if we know His name. We've come out of religion. And we're doing these things because we can so easily become pious. We can so easily become overconfident, pretentious, arrogant, bold, overfamiliar. And all these things make us look rude and impolite to Him. We have a readiness to presume to be in conduct in our thoughts when we're presumptuous. By saying and doing something without right or permission. We don't have permission to be transgressing, taking it upon ourselves to do what we want to do when the Word has said, do this. We don't want to be among the hard-hearted, stiff-necked ones. Our ancestors were called that. And they often provoked the Most High. He said, how long will they do this, provoke me? I'm gone, brothers and sisters, for real this time. All right. I'm never far, though, because I think about you as I'm thinking about me. And as we said, things are really in the world. The ones who are working against us, enemies of Yah, are doing all kinds of things. It's amazing how many people are being affected with what they call allergies. Oh, isn't that coincidental? Isn't that something? Okay, I'm gone. I am meddling. Talk with you soon. Until then, stay encouraged and remember all the time that we win in Yah, and that He's with us everywhere we go. He goes before us, He's with us, and He sees what's going on behind us. We are covered. We are called by His name. And we live by Tehillim 91. His name is a strong tower, and we can run in and be safe. I love you in Yahuah. Until next time. Salama. Salam. Praise Him.